In 1857, in Manhattan, a man named Jeremiah Calvin Lamphere, who had been previously a businessman, and lest you think that in the 1800s, the American culture was very spiritual and virtuous, it was not. It was a lull spiritually. And Jeremiah Lamphere was 48 years old. He was retiring from business. He wanted to go into the ministry in a church called the North Dutch Reformed Church, just down the way from where World Trade Center is. Was looking for an outreach pastor. Their services had dwindled. Hardly anybody was coming anymore. And they knew we need to reach people. And so they hired Jeremiah Lamphere. They said, we want you to be our outreach pastor. Go and get people to come to church. But Jeremiah Calvin Lamphere knew that in order for him to be effective in evangelism, there needed to be a furnace room of prayer in the church. So he built a little tripod sign for a noon prayer meeting, and he put it out on the sidewalk. Prayer meeting at noon. And he began to pass out flyers and invite people to the prayer meeting. And the first day, nobody came for the first 30 minutes, just him. In the basement of that church, nobody came. It was held on September 23rd, 1857. But 30 minutes later, the first person came in late. And by the end of the 1 hour prayer meeting, there were 5 denominations that were present. In that first prayer meeting, about 17 people. By the end of March, he began to have this prayer meeting every single day. He said, come on your lunch hour. Leave Wall Street. Leave wherever you're working. Come and pray with us. And so they did that every single day, starting in September. By the end of March of that next spring, there were over 6,000 people meeting daily at 150 different prayer meetings across New York City. Over the next few months across America, other cities began to do this. It became known as the Noontime Prayer Meeting Revival. And across America, a match was struck and a flame was lit of prayer that ultimately at its height, they estimate that there were 150,000 people across America that daily were praying for revival at noon all across America. In Kalamazoo, Michigan, 100 yards from our prayer room in 1863, there were 500 conversions in 6-week period of time as a result of the noontime prayer revival. And it swept across America and it ignited a revival in America just before the Civil War. Between 1858 and 1859, they estimate that there were almost 1 million people that received Christ out of an American population of 30 million. 1 million out of 30 million in a 2-year period of time that was ignited because of one man and one prayer meeting and one commitment before the Lord that I will give no rest to my eyes until there is a resting place for the Lord in this church. And that out of that prayer meeting came a massive tsunami of evangelism. What happens if we begin to give ourselves to the place of prayer? What could happen if God could find 1,000 willing people that are represented in 1,000 churches across America that said, here we are, Jesus. We will pray. We will intercede. What would he do today in this room, in the families, in the neighborhoods represented in this room, if he could find 1,000 people who would say, I'm going to give myself to prayer in an intercession. I may not look like much on the outside, but baby, I've got my armor on in the spirit. And I'm praying over my kids and my grandkids and my marriage. And I'm going to stop scrolling the highlight reels of everybody else's life, and I'm going to turn my eyes towards Jesus, look full in his wonderful face, and the things of this earth will grow strangely dim in the light of his glory and his grace. What could happen if we would pray?